So here is the Canon T60. It was produced in 1990, and although it's labelled Canon, it wasn't actually made by Canon. It was made by a different Japanese company called Koshina. It is a aperture priority camera. It will not work in shutter priority. On the top plate we have, on the left hand side, we have the collapsible crank, which is used to open the back, and as you can see it's pretty clean inside. It is a metal vertical shutter. Underneath the collapsible crank is the ISO speed, and the ISO range is from 25 to 1600, and you've got the index mark, and basically you just turn it. It does have a hot shoe, as you can see, and next to the hot shoe it has the speed settings. Now, although this is an aperture priority, you do control the speed in manual, obviously, and the speed range when it is in manual is 1/1000th of a second all the way up to 1 second. It also has a bulb mode, and obviously you can't go all the way around, so you've got to go all the way back. You got the A setting, which is the automatic setting, and in automatic it will sync at 8 seconds to 1/1000th of a second. It's got a lock, L for lock, and the flash sync setting is a 60th of a second. The shutter button is next to the speed dial, and it is threaded so you can put a cable release in. Next to the shutter button is the film counter, which automatically resets once the back is opened. On the front of the camera is this little button here, and it is a self timer button. It flashes slow and then it will speed up as it gets close to, I believe it is 10 seconds. On the bottom of the camera you have the rewind button. You have to release the film with the button and use the collapsible crank to basically rewind the film into the canister. On this side you have the battery compartment. This camera will not work without batteries. It is an electronic shutter, and the batteries, if I can get it out, the batteries it takes are the button style batteries, and you need two, and they are LR44 or SR44. You've got to make sure they're in the right way before putting them in, otherwise it simply won't work. You won't be able to fire the shutter without batteries in this camera. So next to that is the tripod mount. To check the batteries, put the camera into A, open the crank and press the button, the shutter button, halfway down. You look through the viewfinder, and if you've got lights flashing, or two red lights either flashing or constant, then the batteries are okay and there's enough power in the batteries to work the shutter. You've got to remember that this camera was produced in 1990, and by 1990 Canon had moved to the EOS autofocus system, and by 1990 they actually had 7 EOS cameras out on the market, and in 1990 they had a further 2. So it wasn't a very well took up camera. People only bought it if they didn't want to change basically onto another system. So it was produced basically to keep people happy, to keep people in the Canon system using the FD lenses, although the FD lenses there were no new lenses being made. To attach the lens, obviously you've got the red dot on the camera and the red dot on the lens. Line the two up and twist. This is an FDN lens, so you have to twist the whole lens. I have got two of these lenses. I thought there was a problem with the lens that came with the camera, so I've swapped it for this one, which I know is a decent lens. So we're going to take it out. We're going to go probably either Wolverhampton, or I might go to the German military cemetery on Cannock Chase, and I'm going to give it a try and see how it does. The film I'm going to use is Canon 400. I've bought the T60 out to the German military cemetery in Cannock Chase, basically to use the film up. I had a few problems when I went to Wolverhampton town centre. Basically the lens that came with the camera didn't work, so I've had to swap it out for this one. It's the same lens, it's 35 to 70mm, so this one works fine. The camera seems alright, so we're going to finish the roll of film off, and then we're going to go back and develop it. I don't know how many graves there actually are here, but when you look around, it's so surreal. I will probably put the pictures on as I take them, and there might be a few at the end of the video. I've got to say, I'm not actually enjoying the experience with this lens, with this camera. I think it is because I've got to keep taking the lens off, but it's not very nice. I've lost my fluffy thing off my mic as well, so you might pick up a bit of wind noise. I'm just retracking my steps, see if I can find it. If I find it, I'll let you know. But now, I'm not enjoying this camera at all. I much prefer something like the FX. I mean, that's more my kind of camera, I suppose. Well, I found it. So we've been out now with the Canon T60. We went to the German cemetery. I did go to Wolverhampton town centre, but the problem wasn't the lens, the problem is the camera. The mirror, after taking a picture, the mirror does not flip back down, so you have to take the lens off so the mirror returns, and then put the lens back on. I had the same problem when I went to a German cemetery. I thought it was the lens, so I changed the lens because I've got two of these lenses, but apparently it was the camera, not the lens. So I ended up with something like 4 or 5 pictures, which I'll show you. They weren't very good. I'm not impressed. It was quite disappointing to use this camera compared to like the EOS RT. Even the 700 did a lot better than this camera. all in all, this camera, I didn't enjoy using it, mainly because every time I took a picture I had to take the lens off, put it back on just to reset the camera. So it wasn't a very nice experience using it. This will go on my shelf, part of my collection.